said, come here. She said, what's wrong? I said, what's wrong? She said, why are you wearing goggles? Well, you've got to wear it swimming. I don't want my eyes getting wet. And she said to me, you're not putting your head in it. You're just doing that, like a doggy paddle sort of thing. And I didn't wear a wetsuit because I was too scared to wear one, although I did. And I was a nervous wreck, absolutely nervous. Do you realise for your age group, you're 2 seconds away from the qualifying time? I never thought I'd be representing Great Britain, so never say you can't. And I therefore missed out qualifying for GB by the European Triathlon team by 0.01% of the time.
That's crazy. I'm getting chills. You can't see them.
So hard work does pay off. So yeah, that's it.
Hi, Yiannis. How are you today?
I'm good, thanks. Yourself?
I'm good. Thank you for taking my invite to do this interview. I am very excited to have you.
Thanks for having me on the channel.
Yeah, because to me, you are, not that the rest of us are not athletes, but to me, you truly are a professional at this. You have won many awards. You have competed for Great Britain. And I wanted you to take it from here to introduce yourself for people who may be watching this who are not familiar with who Yiannis is.
Okay. All right. Well, thanks for the introduction. So I'll start from the beginning, really. So
yes.
I'm 36 years old, and I started in 2012. Now I was home watching the London Olympics in 2012. And I just remember turning on the TV, just like you do when you watch the Olympics, a lot of people get hooked with stuff. So I had no background in sport. I used to play five-a-side football with friends, not very good at it, and just for kickabout once a week. So I did no running. I couldn't swim. So I remember watching the Olympics, being inspired, and I remember watching the triathlon and thought, wow, this was amazing. And that you saw the British brothers that were quite inspiring. They came first and third in that race, and it got me thinking. So I did about 2 months before, I did a charity run for a Sport Relief 5K run. I didn't train for it. I hated it, and I didn't enjoy it. Yeah, and
not a good start.
Not a good start. No. So I had one of my best, my best friend said to me, he just recently started he did a 10K in July. So it was about a month before. He goes, I sprinted it. He goes, let's think about joining the club. So I said, I don't know. But I got inspired by Olympics. So I remember seeing people like Mo Farah and stuff. And I thought, well, maybe I need to do something because I'm in my late 20s and I'm not fit. I really struggled after playing football. It took me about 4 or 5 days to recover. So I needed to really, get fit and do something. So we started running and joined a local running club, which now I'm the head coach of them. So we did that. And I remember in the December of that year, I bought a cheap second-hand bike. I also started swimming. I couldn't swim. So I never expected to get as far as I did. So I started running. I got better the more I started running. I couldn't swim. I remember turning up on, I think it was January 2013 to a local leisure centre that did a triathlon class, and I thought, well, I want to train for a triathlon, and I did it. And she said to me, she said, come here. She said, what's wrong? I said, what's wrong? She said, why are you wearing goggles? I said, because I don't want to get my well, you've got to wear it swimming. I don't want my eyes getting wet. And she said to me, you're not putting your head in it. You're just doing that, like a doggy paddle sort of thing. So I couldn't swim. So she told me so she told me the technique. With running wise as well, I started doing it. So 2013, started running properly. I quit football because I was only doing once a week because I started getting injuries, and then started getting a lot of injuries from running because I did too much too soon. I was going too hard all the time, and I had some serious injuries. I did a triathlon in 2013. I was awful at it. I also turned up injured, and because I never had an injury before, I didn't know, and that was started my injuries. I carried on with it. I actually ripped my calf. It felt like someone got the back of it and did that a mile into the run, but it was hurting all week, and I sort of limped back. That took me 6 months to recover, and then I came back, and it just kept coming and kept reoccurring. And then I started learning a bit more about how to run, going easy and stuff, and I got a bit more. I got a lot better, and then I got injured again. I did my Achilles, and I nearly gave up. I thought, well, what's the point? Like, I'm not getting anywhere, and I just was motivated to just get better. I never thought I'd be representing Great Britain. So, cut a long story short, 2015 was a lot better. I was a good swimmer. I stopped the bike in 2013 after that race. I stopped training because I was convinced that provided my injuries. So I was always scared to go back into triathlon, and I wasn't very good at it at the time. So I decided to go do swimming. I really enjoyed swimming, and we came back from our honeymoon, and the first day, the same day we came back, there was an aquathlon, and I thought I'm going to give it a go, see what it's like. Made loads of mistakes. I came 5th. I remember.
Wow, that's really good.
It was a local one. I think it was about 50, 60 people. So I was quite happy to come 5th.
It's really good anyway. I mean, 50 people.
Thanks. Yeah.
I mean, you're like a top 10 percentile, right? I'm not doing the math wrong. I mean, that's high up there. Yeah.
I was really happy. I mean, it was my first ever like open water swim. I mean, I didn't wear a wetsuit because I was too scared to wear one, although I did have a cheap one. And I remember doing my my laces up about 5-6 times during the run. So I lost a lot of time. And it wasn't until afterwards, when I finished, one of the guys said, "Oh, you did really well your first time." He said, "Do you realise for your age group, you're 2 seconds away from the qualifying time?" So the qualifying for the aquathlons changed quite a bit from when I did it, but at the time you had to get a certain time. And I was like, "Oh, really?" So I then focused on it. So I started training more, and then in September that year, I was 2.5 minutes quicker, and I qualified for the team. So I was over the moon.
That's so awesome! It's giving me the chills right now.
Thanks.
That's awesome.
So 2016 came along. I qualified. I was in for the GB team in my age group, and I was competing at Châteauroux in France in I think it was June or July. And I thought, oh, better take it seriously. So I looked for a swimming coach, because at the same time I became a running coach, a level 2 running coach. So I developed very well in running, and I've been in various studies. So I knew how to train slow to get faster. I had all the master and everything. So I knew how. I knew how to run. So swimming was always a weak point, and I got a swimming coach, and I turned up 2 weeks before. I turned up to, I think it was June, turned up to National Championships, my first ever big race, massive race. It's part of the World Triathlon Series in Leeds. So you had all the triathletes there, and I was a nervous wreck, absolutely nervous. Turned up the start line, and the race went off. As soon as I went off, someone, obviously accidentally, someone knocked off my goggles, went flying. I managed to catch them and put them on. I learned from this though to put my hat over the top of my goggles. It's a little tip for people. And I got onto the run, and I felt really good in the run. And when I finished the race, I didn't realise that I'd finished 3rd. So I got a bronze medal on my debut national championship. So I was over the moon. 2 weeks later, I turned up to the European Championships. So I'd qualified as well, because I was in the top 3. I qualified for the World Championships in Mexico later on that year. So I turned up to this race, European Championships, full of cold. Well, I was just getting over a cold. My expectation was just not to come last. I wanted to enjoy it and not to come last in my age group, and that was all I wanted to do. I didn't have no other expectation. Never expected. I thought I was lucky to get in, and the race started. Swim went really well. Well, I thought it went really well. And obviously with aquathlons, you play a lot of mind games, because it comes out in transition, and I'm looking in transition, and everybody in my age group has gone. They've come out. So I was last in the swim. So that panicked. So I thought, well, I don't want to come last. So I started going for it. And then I remember it was 2-lap course, and I had a really good run. And I remember I memorised some of the athletes, and there was 2 guys, one from Slovakia and a Great Britain guy. They were next to each other, battling each other for a place. And I thought, there's 400 metres to go. This has got to be a podium place. And I thought, what do I do? And I thought, right, I'm going to grip my hands, my fists, grit my teeth, and just go for it. If I collapse, I collapse. Just see what happens. And I got to the finish line. There's loads of photos and there's videos of me looking back to see. And I couldn't believe it when I actually found out I came third. And I got 2 bronze medals in the space of 2 weeks. I was over the moon. Really,
oh wow!
It was a big shock. It was an amazing feeling. And but then also it set me up. It sort of set me up for a higher standard, which also can play a negative. So that year I did really well. I got in a lot of. I placed a lot of races, so I was really happy with that. And I turned up to the World Championships. I won't go into it because it's a long story. Like everything went wrong. From like we were in mainland. Yeah, a cut long story short, we were in mainland, and they mainland Mexico, and we were told we can get a boat along to the island Cozumel because it was cheaper. It was better there. And in the morning, the race 7 in the morning, there was no boat, so we had to get. I panicked, I was stressed.
Right.
Managed to find the hotel, but the race was disaster. The heat was unbearable, and I came 28th. And it's an amazing achievement. So for me, it was a bit disappointed after what had happened, and I thought, well, what do I do? And I've got to improve myself. 2017. So I already qualified for Europeans, which was in Bratislava. I had the nationals, so I'll just go for my big races. And I also qualified for the World Championships in Penticton, Canada. So I
not so hot because Canada is never too hot.
It was really hot while we were there, but not on race day.
Okay, but it's not Mexico.
No, it's not Mexico.
A hot day in Canada is not a hot day in Mexico.
No. So I turned up to Bratislava for the European Championships. Unfortunately, I picked up a calf injury about 3 weeks before. First time in years I had a calf injury, and touch wood, I've not had an injury since. So I had no expectations. I came 9th. I was really happy. I mean, it's always a privilege to represent your national team, and
right.
Yeah, I was really happy. Yeah, I aimed for podium, but obviously I've got an injury before. And anyway, and then I turned up to the national championships again. If I got on the podium, I'd be happy. I wasn't over fussed, and I came 2nd, and I was over the moon. So I thought, well, actually, I must be really good at this. So I've got to do something. And then I turned up to the World Championships, and I got selected as the team captain for the whole entire aquathlon team. And there was about 68 athletes, so that was a really huge honour for me, and really privileged that they actually selected me. And I was a mentor for people, and I had to arrange swim recce's, run recce's, and I was really proud of this as well. Like the night before a race, I managed to get 48 of the athletes in a restaurant with their families the night before a race. So that was something I was really proud of, and yeah, I was really happy. I was hoping for top 10 finish. I came 7th. It was one of my best performances. I was really happy. Yeah, over the moon. Yeah, so did that. 2018. I wanted stronger. What I was aiming for, well, to be better, stronger. So I turned up to the World Championships in Denmark because I qualified for that. So if you with the age group stuff, if you pre-qualify, you have to come in the top 10 in the Europeans to qualify for Europeans, and top 10 for the World Championships. But you have to be the first 3 British, because there's a lot of British people that do it. So you have to be within the first 3 British to get in. So I was always in the first 3. Turned up to 2018. I learned a lot of things for the last couple of years. Not to panic. Control what you can control. So anything else, just I learned a lot from Mexico. Just let it go. So turned up. I had an upset stomach on race day. I did not worry about it, and I finished 9th. But that was probably the biggest field in my age group, I think there's something like 60 athletes
Wow,
in
that's
that
a lot of
race.
people.
I mean, the race was swimming. I got really good at swimming. So what I did with my swimming, I unfortunately got rid of one of my coaches beforehand because I wasn't improving, and I kept saying to him at Bratislava, "Why am I not improving?" Oh, you haven't peaked yet. You haven't peaked yet. So it didn't really help me. So I worked with a guy called John Wood, who's a fantastic coach, and he works with a lady because he's quite far away from where I am, but he does all my sessions, and I work with a lady down here, and I go when it's not COVID. We swim on a Wednesday night, and she is brutal, but she's really good. She completely changed my stroke. I mean, I turned up for a taster session in 2016, and she said to me in the pool, she said to me, "You're not worthy to be in this pool. Go in the baby pool. You need to start sculling," she said. And I was a good swimmer then. So and I like that because she completely changed my my technique as well. And it's all about technique swimming. So turn up to the race. The race is full of jellyfish. A lot of athletes being put off by it. I just got in, I had the best swim ever, and had a really good run. I finished ninth, was really happy with it, and because it's the World Championship, so I was happy with it. So I was good performance. A week later, I had to come back and I had to do the National Championships. A lot of the athletes struggled with this. I thought I struggled, but when I finished across the line, well, I didn't know actually. They didn't tell us when we crossed the line what position we'd finished, so we didn't know. We had to wait around for ages. And they were going through all the different age groups, and my people I know, my friends, they were like not placing. So I was like, oh, I haven't placed. And they called out third in my age group. They called out second, and I turned around and said to my wife, "No, we need to go." I haven't done it. And they called my name out, and I won the national championships. I was over the moon. Really happy about it. So I was really happy. Also that year, 2018, I decided to get back on the bike, only just doing brief bike sessions. I did a triathlon at the end of the year, well, towards the end of the year, September. And if I'd been a bit brave on the bike, I probably would have won. I came second. I was seventh coming in off the bike. The bike's a really a weak point for me. Running, see, I find with triathlon, because I come from a running background, I seem to pick up. I'm normally one of the fastest runners there, so I like to try and go for that. And so I just remember catching. I caught second, and then I was catching first, but I run out of road. But yeah, I was really happy. So that sort of said to me that 2019 would be the last year of aquathlons, and I would work more on triathlons and try and see what I could do in triathlon. And my deep down goal was, it's a lot harder to get into the triathlon team, GB triathlon team. So I wanted to try and qualify for that, just see if I can do it. And yeah, and in October that year, it was quite late. We had the European Championships, and it was in Ibiza. I came 18th. I'm not going to lie to you. Deep down, I was aiming for podium. I learned from there. There's loads of things that went wrong. I've learned from my mistakes, and I was determined to try and improve it for next year. I was in the best shape of my life, so I don't know why things just went wrong, and it's just how it happens. So 2019 was probably my best year. Well, they were all really good years, but 2019 was my best year. I sort of like saying goodbye to the aquathlons, and I was trying to move into more triathlons. So I was training more on the bike, spending more time on the bike, and for me, I always work on my weaknesses. So whatever I'm weak at, I will spend more time, and that's what you should do. Like if you're weak at, say, running long runs, you spend more time in long runs. If you want to do a marathon, you train more for a marathon and spend time on 5K. So I spend more time on the bike, and started dropping the runs a little bit and dropping the swims down to find the right balance. So I needed to improve. I had a bike coach who now does my running as well, Mark Shepherd, fantastic guy. He's like he's a good friend. Well, he's like a family member to me. He's always there, everything. He's very critical, but as I said before, I like people being critical, and that's the way I learn. So I turned 2019, started off triathlons, so the nationals Sprint Triathlon Championships. I had that for, and it was a qualifier. It was only my only attempt to qualify because the others, they all clashed. So I had that in September. So the first race I had was quite early, was Pontevedra, the World Championships, World Aquathlon Championships. Now I knew I'd improved. My swimming had got a lot better. So I aimed for top 10. I told people top 10, but secretly I wanted to sneak into the top 5. And I had a really good, the swim I managed to get near the mid pack, and I was catching them. The run, I had a really good run. I finished 7th and, sorry, 8th. No, sorry, I finished 6th in Canada, and I finished 7th in, so I'm trying to remember, I finished 7th in that World Championships, which was good placing. Again, there was a lot more athletes, because in Canada there wasn't that many, so I was really happy. First British guy for the first time as well, and I wasn't far off a podium place, so I was really happy, and that set me up for the season. And then I started focusing on triathlons, and the triathlons started doing really well. Started placing and winning. I won my first triathlon, and I thought I'd gone wrong in that race. I thought I'd gone the wrong way on the bike. Come on the run and overtook the leader. Yeah, really happy with that. And then I had the National Sprint Triathlon Championships, and I did it, and I came 11th in my age group, something like 200 in my age group. I was really happy. I didn't expect to do that well and be that competitive. Now it did chuck it down with rain, which was a bit of a problem because I'm not very good on the bike. So yeah, so I wasn't very good on the bike. So I was a bit scared, and I eased off, and I therefore missed out qualifying for GB by the European Triathlon team by 0.01% of the time. So, but I knew if someone dropped out, I would get a roll down place. So this first attempt, I was really happy with it. And looking at my data, the bike, I was out in the lead pack of the swim, because triathlon is different to aquathlon. So I was out of the lead pack of the swim, and I was the fastest runner, second fastest runner in my race. But the bike, I was something like 30th. So you can see the difference. So I knew I had to work on the bike for the following year, but it was getting better. I mean, it doesn't come overnight; it takes a long time. And yeah, I did really well in triathlons. I was really happy with it, and the bike was improving. And then I turned up to went in July last year. So yeah, a few days ago, this time last year, went to Romania. Best shape of my life for the European Triathlon Championship. I'm not going to lie to you. I looked at the start list and I was like, I think I could win this, or I can definitely get in the podium. And I set my hearts on it. Turned a few days before the race, about 4 or 5 days for the race, I was doing a run and I felt something going on my foot. My foot, never had any foot problem. I was limping for 2 days, and I rested. I went to my physio the day before I was going out, and I said to him, I'm in a lot of pain here. So he did his prodding and stuff, said, I can't find nothing wrong. You're not going out or anything. I don't know what's wrong with it, but it's not a stress fracture. He said, go for a run, come back, and we'll scan it afterwards. He said, otherwise I'm going to have to pull you out. So he said, but I don't think there's anything wrong. Came back from the run. I said to him, you just saying that made me feel better. I said, it hasn't got any worse. And they scanned it up and they said, no, there's nothing wrong with it. I turned up to that start line and it was still painful. I did not feel it in the race. I came out in the swim. I realised there were still some people in the transit, still some people in transition. So I thought I'd done really well. The problem was the course was quite technical. It was a 4-lap course in the run. And my wife didn't know what position I was. So she was telling me I was 4th. But I was convinced because I knew I was with other guys from other age groups. I was up near them and I knew they were quite fast. And when I crossed the line, they told me the commentator said I'd won. And I was I'm still really happy about it. Best thing ever. I was over the moon with it. And the pain had gone from the foot. So I never had that. So mind games. It's all about mind games. And then I had the national championships a few weeks, a couple months later. I wanted to defend it. I wasn't going to compete again this year in that race. So it was National Aquathlon Championships. And again, things went wrong, but I don't panic. Fire alarm went off at 12 o'clock in the morning, and I did not sleep. I had to be up for 5:30. I slept for about an hour. I was still walking up the hotel ground. I woke up and was walking. Well, I was walking around the hotel grounds at 3:30 in the morning, just to try and get some fresh air to go to sleep. It worked, but it was too late. I turned up really tired. One of the athletes said to me, "It's not what you want to hear." He goes, "You look absolutely shattered." I said, "Yeah." I said, "Did that fire alarm not wake you up?" He said, "Well, it was our room that went off." He said, "But we went back to sleep." So I was like, "Oh, thanks." He was apologetic. He's a friend, and but I said to him, "It's not your fault." Turn up to the race, really tired. Swim, I clocked a few people as I come out. They were a bit far in front of me, so I thought I'll give it my good go. And then I realised that the guy I overtook at the European Championships was there. And to be honest, about a K to go, I stayed with him, next to him, and I thought, what do I do? I've got nothing left in me. So I just thought I'll pull away a little bit and see. And I pulled away, and then about 200 metres round, I looked, and he wasn't there. And I just came back and I was celebrating. There's photos of me celebrating, and I was really happy because I did a double, and yeah, I was really happy. And yeah, and then I found out in December that I got my place for the European Triathlon Championships. I got in, but that's been now cancelled because of COVID for next year. Yeah, so in regards to training, just to say how I trained for this year, I spent more time on the bike. So I've dropped a swim session, I've eased the running off, and I'm spending 5 to 6 bike sessions, and I've seen an improvement.
Have you ever talked about this in your YouTube channel? Have you told your full story or not?
I did a mini series, but
but not in a whole, not in the same video.
Yeah, but there's a lot I can say, but there's a lot I've missed out. I can go on forever.
Right.
So.
You mentioned having different coaches for every sport. Yeah. Although now you have, for the bike and for running, you have the same one. Do they talk to each other? Like, do they share data on how you're doing?
Well, see, I always say with triathlon, don't, my opinion is, if you're looking for a coach, don't just go to a triathlon coach, say, oh, a triathlon, because they, to be honest, they might not specialise on all the areas. They may just specialise in one area. So I always think it's best to go to a running coach, a cycling coach, a swim coach separately. That's the way that's the way I work, because they get the best out of you. So my coach, Mark Shepherd, he basically organises my diary now. So he gives me a 2-week plan, and he knows what days I can do what days I do. So he trusts me as being a running coach. He trusts me what I say. So he'll say to me, for example, he's seen all my plans, my previous plans, but he'll say to me, so Monday, for example, I'll do a swim and I'll do a gym session. So my strength coach works with my swim coaches, okay. And he also knows my races, and he will structure them. So we go through like cycles. So everyone does cycles, so we go through cycles. But what Mark is critical of me for is that, for example, if I'm doing on a Thursday, he's telling me to do a zone 2 bike session. So I'm doing, say, 90 minutes bike session. He will make sure I must stay to a zone 2 swim session or run session. So whatever he says. So for example, on a Sunday, I do a lot of my bulk of my training because it's my day off from work. And so I do this around my work, so I have to fit all my training around. So I do, say, for example, I do like a 90-minute bike ride, zone 2, a 90-minute run, zone 2, and then I'll do in the evening, I'll do a swim, and it'll be easy again, well, easy or steady, zone 2. So yeah, so Wednesday, for example, we'll do a sweet spot session with cycling, and I can go hard on the swim session then. So you can see how it works, sort of thing. So, right. So mainly when I say hard, swimming, a lot of it is drill work for me. So I do some hard sessions, but I go hard on hard days and easy on easy days. And that's, I think, where a lot of people make a mistake. They go in between. So I at the moment, I'm training 1 hard day a week. When everything goes back to normal, it'll be 2 hard days a week, and that's it. And the rest is really easy.
Right, right. So how many hours do you train combined? Are you like at 15 hours a week?
Yeah, so roughly about 15 to 18 hours, roughly a week. I would love to do more,
Right.
but I can't. And also think I'm on my max as well. I think I could risk injuries if I do too much.
Right. So how do you fuel?
Sure. Okay.
What do you eat to be able to perform at this level? I can only imagine you have your food, like really, you think about what you're putting in your body.
Yeah, well, yeah, so I do have a fairly strict diet. I mean, coming from a Greek family, we have healthy diets, so a lot of
Right.
it is quite.
I'm from Spain, so the diet is
Oh,
similar.
so yeah,
Lots of olive oil, yeah, tomatoes.
yeah, so very similar.
Yeah.
So yeah, you know, so obviously diet, mate, is so important. So in regards to training, depending when I train during the day, so I'll go for a typical day if I'm at work. So I wake up in the morning and I have breakfast at 7 o'clock, which will be 3 to 4 Weetabix with some milk and a cup of green tea. I head off to work, and about 9 o'clock I have some snacks. I mean, some snacks may not be okay. I have a Scotch egg. I love Scotch eggs. But I also have nuts, and and I have 2 pieces of fruit. So it could be banana, satsumas, and then I have lunch about 12. So 12, I have salad. It could be with kidney beans, chickpeas, chicken, tuna. So the salad will have the usual salad bits, tomato, olives, you know, cucumbers. You get the drift. And then
Very Greek, the olives and the cucumbers.
Yeah, the thing is, I normally have the same lunch every day and breakfast, apart from weekends. So people do say to me at work, "Oh, you have the same stuff," but it works. So it works for me.
Right. Why are you going to change it? You like it, you enjoy it, and
yeah, exactly. So I have another 2 pieces of fruits. Again, banana, satsuma, depending what I've had for snacks, or apple. And I have some like healthy snack crisps. They're not like crisps you have. I think you call them chips there, but like they're pea snacks. They're quite healthy. And I have a yogurt. And I have a yogurt as well. And then a few hours later, I'll have another snack. This is the problem. I did not do this on my YouTube video. So a lot of people said, "Oh, how do you eat?" And I didn't do this. So
I actually commented, because when you were going through what you eat, I was like, "That's not a lot of food."
Yeah. So.
And you posted there saying, "I actually didn't put my snacks."
Yeah. So.
No.
So I go for them. So yeah, I might have tuna. And I maybe have some nuts again, and some fruit, and then I have my dinner. I'll train when I get home, and then I'll have my dinner afterwards. And the dinner could be anything. So yeah, loads of sorts of stuff.
Right.
So the way what we do at the moment, we do a few days meat, a day of fish, and then the rest of it is like vegan or vegetarian. So I'm trying to mix it up a bit.
Some people get very picky with when they eat. Like some people say, "I need to train fasted because then that's better for the day of my race."
Well,
do you do that? Do you ever go out for like a long run or a bike ride without having eaten anything?
Well, what I was going to say, I was going to mention a bit later, but the thing was, with my work, I work 8 till 4. So I need to get, when it's a normal day, because I'm working from home at the moment, but when it's a normal day, I have to I'm restricted to swimming time and stuff. So I have to go straight from work to swimming pool and gym. And if I'm training with my running club, by the time we get home, I can't eat till like 8:30, 9 o'clock at night, which is not ideal. And then we have to wait a few hours before we go to bed. So it depends on a for example, Sundays where normally traditionally a race day, or where I do my bulk of my training. So what I normally do is when I first wake up is I rehydrate, and I do that all the time. And I don't change anything up with breakfast. I have 4 Weetabix because I know I'm going to do a lot more training. So I'm really rehydrated. So that's how I do it. Race day is the same, depending what time I have to get up. If I have to get up really early, then I have the 4 Weetabix and might have a banana a bit later on, about an hour and a half before the race. I have done runs going out with fasted, but I can't see the benefit of it, because when you do like easy training and zone 2 training, your body actually learns how to burn fat. And I went on a study regarding this, and they worked the way I was training. If I trained easy in zone 2, which I do, my body will burn fat, which is a better energy source than carbohydrates. So I actually am able to go longer, and I burn fat as an energy source. So carbs is a backup, I think, for my body. So that's me. With all races are different. I mean, if you do a marathon, then I'd say you have to take gels and stuff like that. On a triathlon day, I don't do anything different than what I do in the aquathlon. The only thing, I don't take anything on in a aquathlon. It's quite short. And in a sprint triathlon, some people think I'm mad, but I only drink water. And
wow. Okay.
I don't take any gels or anything. And yeah, I think everyone's different. I did take gels when I did the marathon training, and this was when I was doing. I didn't really enjoy the experience of training for a marathon, and what I found, I was actually slowing down from having gels. Now I don't know if this got any science behind it or anything, but I found I was slowing down, and my body was craving gels, and it took me a long time, even as shorter runs, to stop my body from craving. I mean, I turned up to a 5K race, and my body was telling me it wanted a gel. Like, I've never had a gel on a 5K race before. So I used this study that I did, and I think where if you run longer, and I was actually, at the time, I was running 2-hour runs, and I was covering 17 miles in these 2-hour runs. So I was just going by time on feet, and I found that I wasn't. I was actually improving every time, every 6 weeks. I was improving, and I think what it was, I was teaching my body to burn fat and as an energy source. Of course, I was really hungry when I came back. So
right.
yeah, I don't know if that helps.
That's really interesting. So what are your next races? What do you want to do with your?
Well,
because now everything is on hold, but I imagine you're thinking about the future and what you want to do, what you would like to accomplish.
Well, to be honest, this was going to be my last year actually competing. Like me and my wife wanted to start a family.
Oh,
and
okay.
This was going to be my last year. And I didn't plan to do any aquathlons. Unfortunately, British Triathlon decided to do the first ever British Aquathlon Championships this year, and I wanted to do that, and I wanted to win that, just because it was the first one. I wanted to step aside from aquathlons because I thought I achieved what I have, and I've gone as far as I can. I wanted a new challenge. The thing is with me, I get I'm always motivated, and I will, whatever I do, I'll give it 100%. But I wanted another change, so I tested the water last year for triathlon, and I qualified for Great Britain, and that obviously got cancelled. So I was training up for that. I was seeing improvements on the bike. As soon as that was meant to be next month, as soon as that got cancelled, I still trained hard, which that was back in May. And then about a few days later, British Triathlon said all their qualifiers and all their national championships have been axed for next year, until next year. So I eased off. I immediately took 2 weeks off easy training because I've been training for a while, no races, and then I started coming back to training. So the plan is still to have family, but I still want to. It was a dream come true to, because it was never a dream to qualify for Great Britain. Well, for any of it, but for triathlon championships. So I want to try and I want to go to that race, and I want to give it my all. So that will be my focus next year, and I will very much try and go and do the British Aquathlon Championships next year as well. We'll see. Who knows? But it's going to be a triathlon season. People's telling me to go longer. I might go longer triathlon. I have to see. I've got. I didn't like the experience of marathon, but I've got deep back of my head. I've always wanted to go and do a marathon, and I've got a time in my mind that I think I'm capable of doing and want to try and do. But it all depends how next year goes.
Right. I can only imagine the adrenaline kicking in when you know that you're performing at a high level and you might represent your country in an event like this. I mean, it's got to be such a proud moment.
It is a very proud moment, and it's a huge honour. And I'm always nervous at races. That I always get it. And I never take anything for granted, and always tell people, like, you never know where your journey can lead you, and never say you can't, and that it can go a long way. And I've seen people come from nothing in running, and like people I've coached, and they've got so good. I mean, I've come from a background that I was no sport, so you never know, and yeah, it's just. Yeah, you never know what your ability is, but it's a huge honour, and it has been a really good, like an amazing. I mean, looking back, I can't believe how far I've come, and you should always, like, people should always look and see how far they've come back. Like, if you look from day one, you see people like to say, "Oh, I've gone for a bad run," or "I've had a bad day," for example. But you should always remind yourself and always look back, and always remind myself of like what I've achieved. And yeah, I've had bad races. Everyone has bad races, but it's what you learn. What you learn from them, and yeah, it's a huge honour, and that's why I wanted to get into this triathlon team, because it's a lot harder to get in. A lot more people do it, and yeah, I was really happy to do it. So I'm really looking forward to getting the opportunity next year to doing it, and hopefully my bike could be better. But I'm very competitive inside myself, but not around on race day. If there's someone in front of me, I'll go for it, but I won't really care who's in the race or something. I just race for me, and I do it because I enjoy it, and I get a buzz from the race and I enjoy it, but I just enjoy it. And I always say, if you put the hard work in training, you know it'll pay off. So hard work does pay off. So yeah, that's it.
That's it, right. I mean, it's a simple, yeah. What else did I want to? Oh, your YouTube channel. I love your videos because you get very specific. There's a lot of information on YouTube, but you choose a topic and then you explore that topic in your video, which I think it's great because it's sort of like a library. You're covering every single topic.
Thank you.
Yeah, like in depth, like you talk about every single, they're very educational. So I like that about your videos. But and you're growing in subscribers so quickly. It's, you know,
Thanks.
Obviously you're doing the right things. Have you given any thought to where you want to take your YouTube channel?
Well, the thing is, I set up my all my social media accounts in 2015 when I found out I qualified for Great Britain, and I didn't really know what I wanted to do was to inspire people and show people that I couldn't swim, and if you work on something, no matter how bad you are at something, you can improve, and I wanted to show people you can improve. And with all my social media accounts, I like to keep it realistically. So I tell the truth. If I have a bad day, I'll say it on there. And I like to encourage people, because that's what it should be for. Like, I've got no time for negative thoughts or negative people. So I mean, I learned the hard way. It did hurt me in the past, but I've learned, and I ignore it, and I just get on with it. But yeah, I like to show people what I'm doing. But what you must remember, people try to copy other people, and
Oh yeah.
yeah, and the problem is what works for them may not work for you, whether it's
Right.
social media, for training, and your own person. So you need to know what works for you. And yeah, so going back, I sort of sidetracked, but so with the social medias, I set them up to show my journey. So it's from day one, from when I qualified, from up until now, every day. And I always encourage people, like when people are down, I always say to them, come on, you can do it, pick it up. And that's what I'm about. I'm a positive person, and I believe that if you're positive, people go a long way. And so with YouTube, I just I set it up because I had a lot of pressure from people saying, why don't you set it up? Why don't you set it up? And a lot of friends are on it, and I'm like, well, I'm no good. I don't like being filmed and all that. So I thought I'd do it. And you can see some of the early videos. I'm a bit sketchy. I'm learning still. But I just want to educate and inspire people and help people along the way. So I just use my all my experiences and my examples of trainings, because I've got so many things, like again, like I said, about controlling the controllable. There's things that have gone in races leading up to races. So many things have gone wrong, and you could panic. Like, I mean, I turned up to a local race, well, not local race, a London 10K. It's a big race, and I have to admit, it was my fault. I packed all my stuff and had the kit lay and everything, and it was my first. Basically, it was 2016. I qualified for the European Championships, and I had my kit, my tracksuit. So I wore my tracksuit to the race. What I didn't realise is I left my shorts at my in-laws' bed, which was an hour on the tube from London. So I turned up to the race, and about 20 minutes before, I realised I didn't have any shorts on me. I
Oh my God.
asked fellow club members. Now these bottoms were not. You can't run on them. They're like. So I didn't know what to do. Whether to, well, I didn't know whether to roll them up. I didn't know whether to wear just my boxers. I didn't know my boxers. I didn't know what to do. I honestly didn't know. And I was panicking. But I managed, and I asked so many people, like charities and stuff, they got a spare pair of shorts. I managed to find one person that had a spare pair of shorts. He actually gave them to me, and I said to him, like, I'll put them somewhere and you can pick them up afterwards. But there's things that go wrong. But like, I was a nervous wreck. But things like that now, if that happened, I'd keep calm. So I just wanted to, yeah, social medias, I set them up to educate people and to inspire them and tell them that, like, I've been there. I've come from nothing background. I've come from races. I've been near the back, and I've learned. And you never know how far you can come. And it's all about learning new things. And most of all, not to copy people. As I mentioned, people are different. Just because someone else is doing something the same doesn't mean it's going to work for you.
Right. When I started running, I didn't know anything about running. So I went on YouTube to find information about how to be a better runner.
Yeah.
And you can find people who are elite runners with YouTube channels, and their advice, I can understand what they eat and how, but they do that for a living. So
yeah,
I have a full-time job. I can't do all the things they're doing.
Yeah.
Or there's people like myself who give tips, or maybe people who are run coaches who give tips. But there's no one in YouTube that I'm aware of who's like you, who's not someone who since like a little, like being a kid, 10, 12 years old, was running and then became a European champion, such as yourself. I don't think there's anybody like that. So I find your channel very, again, very educational, because you have been where I am right now. Not that I'm ever going to be at your level, because
you never know. You never know.
I'm 46. You remember when you said that you ran out of the race, like the race ended? I mean, the most I can do, I think, and I really want to try, is qualify for Boston. That's like my goal. Like, I want to qualify for Boston. And I have a long, I have a long way to get there, but hopefully I'll get there. But you watching your videos motivates me a lot, because it's like, okay, he's much younger, but I can relate to what you're doing. Like, my goal is to qualify for Boston, and then your goal is obviously completely different, but you came from where I came from. So thank you. Keep doing what you're doing. I love your channel.
So thank you very much. Going back to that, just keep at it, change things up. You never know how far you go. Like I mentioned my friend right at the beginning, who got me started in running, and so I'll say this. He said to me, when I joined a running club, I sprinted a 10K. Now his time was 56 minutes for a 10K. He ran London a few years ago in 2 hours 30. All I can say is you never know your ability, and you never know how far you can go. He finished 95th at the London Marathon.
That's crazy. I'm getting chills. You can't see them.
So that I mean, I've got loads of examples, but that's an example from a guy who's gone from a 55-minute 10K, 56, sorry, 50. I think it's 55, 56, which is around there. He now runs 32, 33-minute 10Ks, but did 2 hours and 30 in London Marathon.
That's incredible, because 2:30 is like almost elite, right?
Well, sub 2:45 under is elite.
Okay.
So he yeah, and if you're new to running as well, you've got like a training age as well, which I don't know if you're aware, but it's something like 8 years training cycle. So you've got I always see you've got 8 years of improvements. So you can still improve.
Okay, so I've been running 3 years, so I still.
Yeah.
Awesome. So where can people find you? You are in North.
So if you want to find me, so on YouTube it's Yiannis Christodoulou.
I'll put the links.
Okay, thank you. And on Instagram it's Yiannis.Christodoulou, and I'm on Twitter as well, and that's Yiannis _83. Yeah, they're the only ones I'm on. So and I've got a blog. I've got a blog, but you can follow the links, and I write a blog quite regularly. I write tips on training, so there's stuff on there. Yeah, so if you want to find me
I've
there.
seen your blog. Yeah, I've read a couple of the articles too.
Oh, thank you. Thanks.
Thank you for giving me your time. I think we spoke. How long did? Oh my God, we spoke for an hour. Is that possible?
Yeah,
I think so. Quick. Oh wow, awesome.
I can smell my dinner's ready.
I'm gonna let you go because you need to eat.
Thanks for having me, and it was good. It was good chatting to you. And yeah, thanks for having me on the channel. I really enjoyed it.
Thank you so much. Have a good night and a good dinner.
Yeah, thanks. You too. Have a good day.
Bye-bye. Have a good day.